Welcome back to another web development video where I show you how to make modern websites using HTML5, CSS3, and a little bit of JavaScript. In this video we're going to continue our Webflow series of web development basics in Webflow. This is a little bit of a divergent video for that. It doesn't necessarily have to do with coding or writing HTML or anything. It has to do with style guides. And what a style guide is if you're not familiar, is it helps you to create consistency across typography and colors and sometimes web components, things like buttons or links, interactive sorts of things. And what it does is it allows you to sort of copy and paste those things into your website. A lot of big name companies do style guides. A lot of designers, when they're doing print design, will also do a style guide. And what it does is it helps to just bring consistency to the colors and the typography especially, and the treatment of how we're going to do certain things. So one person is not doing one thing with the colors and one person's not doing another thing. They all come back to this central document that says, okay, these are the brand colors that we're going to use. These are the types of words we're going to use, that type of thing. And so even if multiple people are working on a project, which they are in a big company, they can still continue to produce consistent results even over different types of projects because they're using the same brand guidelines. So that's what we're going to do. And you can do this even for small projects that you're doing for clients or small projects that you're doing for your company in Webflow. And Ryan Morrison, who is a designer at Webflow, put together this sample style guide a few years ago. And you can see here that as we scroll through, this is the actual page as it looks. And it has places for typography and for buttons and for brand colors, different ways that you can treat the logo on a light background or a dark background. And also the last section has some components. You can see those components that they're live. There's a little tab section here, that is live and works. And essentially what you would do if you wanted this tab section into another section of your website, once you have this style guide imported into your project, all you have to do is copy and paste literally this entire section and put it wherever you want to put it into your website, and it will retain all of the styles, and then all you have to do is make changes to the content, greatly speeding up your workflow. And this is suggested by Webflow to do this, but it's also Ron Segal, who is a Webflow guy in Israel, in Tel Aviv. He actually has put this into place for his own freelancing business, and it's helped him to increase the speed with which he can produce a website. So what we want to do is I'm going to share this link in the description of the video, but you can come in and up here it says clone. If you go here and open it in Webflow, this allows you to see it, just to actually see this, what you're looking at over here. This actually allows you to open it in Webflow in your personal account, but it's read-only, so there's not really anything you can do with the actual thing except look at how he did it. But up here you can actually clone this. It's publicly available, and that just means you make a copy of it into your own personal account or into your team account. So let's go ahead and clone that, and we'll create a new project. We'll call it Style Guide Example and create the project. And we'll see how quickly this opens up into Webflow. But what it's going to do is it's going to open up this project that Ryan did as a new project for us. And so we can call it whatever we want to. So now you can see that we have it live inside of Webflow. So all of these things, if you click on them, it pulls up our panel over here of things we can make changes to. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a separate page. So basically we'll start with a home page. this one is called the home page, but we need an actual home page. So we need to create a new page, call it home, set this page to be called style guide, and then we can start adding components and different things to our actual home page. So up here is creating a new page, and then we can say home. Webflow actually allows us to create a second page with the same name, so we'll do that. And now we have two home pages. This is our original one. We can see that it has the home icon here, and that's the current home page. That's the one that has our style guide on it right now. And what we want to do is make this one our new home page, the actual home page. So then make home your home page, and we'll say yes. And that renames our style guide page. You can see here that renames it to old home, and that's not what we want to call it. We want to call it style guide. And we need to make sure that we change the slug here to style guide like that, and then we'll just click save. And now we have two separate pages. We have our home page, which currently doesn't have anything on it, and then we have our style guide page, which has all of our style guide content, including heading sizes and styles that have already been laid out for us. Theoretically, you would go through and you would make changes to all these, and then begin to use them in your website. So if you are given a design, hopefully the designer is working off a style guide, and if so, then you can use that style guide to shape this web-based style guide. And we have lots of different things, block quotes and buttons and colors and things like that. You can also see here that there's a few instructions about how to do this. These typography elements do not have classes, so none of these have classes on them. They're just the baseline elements. So this is like in the code, if you had H1 with no class or anything on it, that's what this is. It's all the H1s are being styled like this. All the H2s, all the H3s, etc. And this is important for us because this is going to allow us to set our baseline styles all across the website. So if I go to our home page and I add an H1 element, which is a heading here, and I just drop that in here, you can see that it takes on all of the styles from the style guide. So it's Roboto 300 light, 46 pixels, and if we go back to our style guide, we should see the same exact styling. Roboto 300 light, 46 pixels. Now the really cool part is that we can make changes in our style guide, and that will actually change all of those baseline elements completely across the website. So if you had 100 pages and you had 1,000 H1s on those pages, then changing it once in the style guide would actually change every single instance of those H1s, unless it had some sort of a class or a more specific style that had been added to it. But all things being equal, every H1 would change its baseline styles. And I'll show you how this works. So basically we click on the element that we want to change, our H1. When we come up here, you can see there's no class or anything attached to it. And when we click here, we have the option to add a class. To create a new class, we can type in, or we can choose an HTML tag. And so we can actually style the HTML tag itself without a class. So this will style all H1 headings in the website. And just, you need to make sure that all H1 headings are all, if you're doing a paragraph, you need to make sure that all paragraphs is selected up here. You need to let Webflow know what you're styling. If not, if you just click here and you start styling it, it's only styling this one particular instance of an H1. And then the next time you add an H1, you're going to have to restyle it. But that's not what we want. So we come up here and we click all H1 headings. And what I want to do is I want to make these 900 black. So let's just do that, and we'll make them all caps. So that's our new H1 style. And if we did this right, this should actually change our H1 on the other page. So let's go back over to our home page, and you can see that it's taken our styling. So now it's 900 black, and it also has the all caps applied to it. And anytime that I come in and put an H1 on a page, it's going to take that styling. So I could put, I could just copy and paste 5 of those like that, and they would all have that same styling. And if I wanted to come back and make a change again to our style guide, I would click on the H1, all headings, and then let's say I want to do Montserrat, as we've changed our font that we're going to use for our H1 headings, and so that's what we're going to go with. And once that gets saved, we can go check it out at our home page. And now all of these have the Montserrat font applied to them because it's changed all of our H1 headings. Let's say this one up here we want to make special. Let's say this is our instead of a heading, this is our site title. Okay, we're going to make our site title a little different than our regular H1 because it just needs a different styling. So we come and we add not all headings, but now we need to add a class. Maybe logo is a good one. And when I make changes to logo, it will not change any of these because when I click on them, look, there's no class applied to them. So these are all of our general styles. Logo is going to have some special styles. And so let's first change the color. Our logo is going to be maybe something like this little purple color. Notice that nothing changed except for the color. Nothing changed except for the color. If we go back and we make this one 200 extra light, again, the things that changed are the things that we said we're going to change. Otherwise, it takes the same styling as all these other H1s. And the only other styling that we have that it's taking is that it's all caps. But if we go back and we undo the all caps and we just say, actually let's go with lowercase. So let's do lowercase. And then now it's completely different than all of the rest, but it still retains the sizing of all of our other H1s. So even if you add a class, whatever the baseline styles are, it will apply those to that element. If you add a class and you want to change all of the baseline styles, you have to actually specifically change them. If you don't, it's still going to retain some of those baseline styles from the H1. This is actually a really good thing. It feels like maybe that's a pain in the neck, but a lot of times you're just wanting to create variants with your classes. You're not usually wanting to create completely new components. Otherwise, you would do that. You would change all the different styles, but a lot of times you want to keep that consistency of your H1s. It's just the H1s in this particular section, maybe you want to be a different color, or the ones in this particular component need to be a little bit different size, and so you would put a class on there that where you could change the size, but for the most part it retains most of the baseline styles that you've given to your H1 headings. And if you think in that way, that's a way of thinking about web design, is think in your baseline styles first and then think in your variants after that. So when you're designing a website, if you can get to that place where you're thinking about your baseline, what do I want my H1, H2, H3 tags to look like when the developer goes and puts them on the website? If you think like that, that will really help both of you in the relationship, because you are sort of mirroring the way that the code works in your design. Even though you don't have to, you have a lot more freedom than the developer does. But if you can sort of confine yourself to the way that the web works, there will be a lot more harmony between the pass off of the design to the development. And that's where some of the rub happens between designers and developers. So having a good style sheet that adheres to sort of web principles will actually create a little bit more harmony in that relationship. So we have our styling here. If we go down to this one and we want to make that one a logo as well, we would just add the logo class, and you can see that it takes on our logo styling. And it doesn't matter what we do to our style guide at that point, because these have a logo class that is affecting their styling. So if we go back over here and we make these 600 semi-bold, and we have capitalization of every single letter, that's a new style that we're doing. And if we go back to our home page, well, we messed it up. Let's go back. We didn't make sure that we had the pink up here for the all headings. See how it created a new logo class for this particular element? That's because we didn't tell it anything what we were styling. It just styled this one particular element. This is a sort of automated thing that Webflow does. So if you want to change all the H1 headings, you have to click and make sure that that pink all H1 headings is there. And so we want to take this back to 600, and let's make it this style. Okay, this is what we had just said before. So this has changed again, and we want to, we got our save up here. We go back to our home, and now you can see that all of these H1s have taken on 600, which is semi-bold, and then it's taken on this styling of capitalizing every single word. But if you notice, our logo treatments are exactly the same as they were, even though we made a change to the baseline styles, because logo has its own styles. So it's h1 dot logo. It has a class of logo. If we were to remove this, then it would simply take on our h1 styles. Okay, so hopefully that you can see how that works and how the cascading effect happens inside of inside of web design and web development, and inside the CSS code. That's being reflected here in Webflow, but you're able to see it a little bit more visually than most developers are able to see it. So that is how we can import and use a style guide like this. Again, I'll put the link in the description so you could use this exact one. You can look at it, you can create your own. You could take and look in the navigation panel, and you could just take whichever sections you wanted. If you just wanted to take the typography section and make sure that typography was good across your website, then you can do that. Play around with it a little bit and see. Make the mistakes, all that kind of stuff. But just remember that when you want to go to change something on here, that you click all paragraphs. It needs to be the pink, whatever it is for the HTML element, right? So whatever it is, H2 headings, that needs to be it. You need to tell Webflow, what am I making changes to? Otherwise, it's only going to make changes to this particular element here. And then it's not going to affect the rest of the ones on the website, because it will give it its own specific class. And that doesn't help you unless you apply that class across your website. So play around with it, have fun with it. I think if you get the hang of this, then it can really speed up your Webflow, and it can increase the speed at which you can do maintenance and create new pages, new sections, new components, because you're using pre-made components already, and you know what the brand colors are. You can just go right to it inside the project, get the colors, get the typography, get everything you need to just copy and paste those things together and make new sections, new components. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments section below. If you haven't subscribed, click subscribe and click on the bell, and you'll get notifications every time I publish new videos. Feel free to follow me or connect with me somehow on Twitter at Brian Hafferkamp. And also, if you want to pay it forward, just click the thumbs up button. It helps YouTube to know that this is valuable content, and helps it to go a little bit farther and wider. Look for more videos about in this web development basics series. So what we're doing is teaching web development basics inside of Webflow. So it's like we're writing code, but we're not. We're writing code visually. And so if you missed any of those episodes, you can look back in the playlist and go back and rewatch any of those. All right, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.